Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Mess. So here I got a fun and exciting episode for you guys today because it's been over 4 years since I talked about Total Vice on the Konami 3DO M2 arcade board. I've been doing a little bit of an arcade closet reorganization and I pulled this board out, decided I wanted to play it, and figured why not do a 4K capture of one of the rarest Konami arcade games ever made for posterity. And a lot of the other reasons is because I did these videos at the very beginning of my channel, so it's one of those things maybe people have not seen this yet. Because if you know two things about me, you know I love the 3DO M2 and I love a good light gun arcade game. Before we get too far involved though, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like and subscribe, and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down below as well. But outside of Toei Polystars being probably my favorite 3DO M2 game, Total Vice is a very close second. I just absolutely love everything this game does. The theming, the 80s action cop movie sort of vibe going on, all of the graphics and the blood effects. This just has everything I want out of a light gun arcade game. And Konami could do every bit as good as Sega or Namco when it came to the genre, and you pair that together with the 3DO M2 and I'm just absolutely in love. I played this game dozens upon dozens of times in my life, and every single time I take it back out of my arcade closet, I have just as much fun as the first time I played the game, and it still impresses me to this day. You can tell the developers at Konami loved making this because they put so many special little touches in, like this 10% discount rack in the corner there. Pay close attention to that. Just like in any sort of Hollywood movie, of course someone's going to come down and get shot straight through it like you would see in an action movie. This is basically an unofficial Lethal Enforcers game mixed together with basically every 80s cop movie you've ever seen in the best way possible. And I think of all the games on the 3DO M2, this one probably shows off the graphical abilities the best. You have so many different models on screen at once, all modeled in full 3D. You've got really stable polygons on the walls and ceilings, nothing really wobbling around, and you have a really nice texture resolution as well. Now I am playing this game in standard definition. It will run in medium res too, but I have to play this through a PVM and then take the signal back out of the back and into a 4K scaler to capture it, and I just don't have a medium resolution monitor, so technically this can look even better. But again, I just love this game, not just because it's rare, but because it's rare, runs on the 3DO M2, and is also just absolutely outstanding. Konami made excellent arcade light gun games, and this is just one of their best in my opinion. And I will say, with the Konami arcade guns that you have to use with this game, the accuracy is absolutely spectacular. We're talking GunCon levels of just pure perfection. And as we move through that grocery store and into the subway here, it is just such a fun game visually. There's 3 stages, each one is new and unique. They have new enemies, different varieties, and different things to see and do. And you have a full weapon power-up system as well. You can get a magnum, a double magnum, a rifle, as well as an automatic weapon to mow all the enemies down in front of you. And I will say this one section right here definitely has some big Virtual Cop vibes to it. The first game on Model 2, you can definitely see there is some inspiration shared there. But of course Konami did have the Lethal Enforcer series before Virtual Cop existed, so you can't really say it is a direct copy. And I just love this Rutger Hauer looking boss right here holding a massive chain gun in his hand. He's absolutely ripped, and it just sells that action movie vibe. If you told me this was just modeled directly after Rutger Hauer, I would 100% believe you. And the best part about this game is just the fact that I can actually play it. If you know of any Total Vice cabinets in North America or around the world, leave me a comment down below, because I have never seen this game in an arcade. I probably got it maybe 7-8 years ago from another collector in Australia, and since then I've managed to get 4 other Total Vice boards just so I could dump the CDs and pop them up on archive or for preservation. So if you do need a copy for your arcade board, whatever region you have, chances are I have dumped it. But this boss battle is just so epic. He's throwing grenades at you, and when he dies, he has that classic chain gunning into the sky, long death animation. This is basically just playing out like a movie, and I absolutely love it for that. It is just a ton of fun. But moving on to the second stage, this has a lot of die-hard arcade vibes to it. If this isn't Nakatomi Tower, I don't know what it is, and I love that we drive the police car straight through that plate glass window like you would see in any sort of cop chase in a movie, and we get right into the gun battle. Again, this game is just pure spectacle. But I want to talk about the 3DO M2 for just a moment because this came out in 1997. Considering this is better than anything the Nintendo 64 or PlayStation 1 could ever do, and it's rivaling a lot of Sega's Model 2 arcade boards, you could see the true power of the 3DO M2 on display here. And don't forget, these would be basically day one games because Konami had a deal with Matsushita and 3DO to release all of their arcade games on the home console. So this would have been something you could have bought on launch day with some sort of light gun peripheral, and I really wish that is what had actually happened. But we all know the 3DO M2 was canceled as a home console, but you can play games like this, and it really does show you not only the power of the M2, but what Konami was making with it. But I will say Total Vice also has a spectacular soundtrack. Go ahead and listen for 45 seconds, and I'll come back and show you a lot more of this exceedingly rare game. Konami always had awesome arcade music, and Total Vice is no different. If you're wondering why there aren't any gunshot sound effects, that is because I've actually removed them from the mix. The guns for this game in the arcade controls have speakers in these shells. You can wire that up into the main mix and get it to come through, but I feel like it's ever so slightly too loud, and honestly I wanted you guys to hear the music, and I think not having the gunshot sound effects in a light gun arcade game is something that if you feel like doing, more people should give you the option to do. But as we travel through this tower again, you see that massive jet engine on the floor. They never really explain to you what's going on in the game. All you know is that you need to shoot the bad guy. But of course this game, just like any good 80s action cop movie, it has a sense of humor. You open up these bathroom stalls here, and one businessman falls directly into the toilet while the other enemy is shooting at you. This game will slow itself down every once in a while and basically give you something to see and do that's slightly different than you saw before, and I always forget that that's going to be an innocent civilian there, and I absolutely just destroy him. But as we get to the roof here, every once in a while the game does force you to take damage. That is my only strike against it, especially if you're coming in with a powered up weapon. It's almost impossible as a single player experience not to take damage there, and if you take any sort of bullet, you're going to lose whatever powered up weapon you have. But this boss battle is just everything I love about Konami and arcade games. It very similarly kind of references the Silent Scope series, except versus it's not a sniper rifle, you just have that handgun, but we hop into a police helicopter, and we're going to have a helicopter chase through what seems to be downtown New York while we're trying to fight the main bad guy of the game, Funk. And weirdly, the story of this game on the flyer and in the credits list him as being the leader of the gang. He's actually on stage 2, and stage 3 seems to play out of order because in the credits when it gives you the overall story, this should have actually been the last level in the game, so it's a very weird design decision. But what isn't a bad design decision is this helicopter battle. Again, it is just spectacular, and look at all the polygons in the city. M2 is running this at 60 frames a second. It is stable, there's never any slowdown whatsoever, and if you had given this to me in 1997 as a home console, I absolutely would have loved that. I would have played it every day of the week and twice on Sunday. But Funk here has been shot down. You're going to see he falls out of the helicopter in, again, what is just an absolute 80s movie trope. It's basically like Hans Gruber going down the bottom of the Nakatomi Tower, except in reverse because you're looking up, not down. But as we move on to the third stage, this one definitely has some Miami Vice Scarface vibes to it. Every single level is referencing at least one movie, and of course the buddy cop genre, or the cop genre in and of itself, has different subgenres like the tropical Miami version of it with Tony Montana, or that classic hard-boiled Brooklyn detective shooting out in the streets, or even some Dirty Harry here and there. And I think that's the other reason why I really love Total Vice. It just reminds me of so many different movies I've seen, and you marry that together with an exceedingly rare piece of hardware that never actually truly came out as a home console, and there's nothing I could hate about this game. And this warehouse scene at the wharf here, of course all the bad things are going down at the docks. That is a classic thing. The docks are never good news, and there's always going to be a gunfight there. And I really do appreciate that every single level gives you new enemies to attack. You're going to see the same model within levels, but every single segment of every single level is going to introduce something new to see and do. So you can tell the developers and the artists spent some overtime trying to put as much into Total Vice as possible. And again, I just love the appearance of the 3DO M2, but leave me a comment down below and tell me, if you played this at home in 1997, would you be excited for it or not? But I'm going to give you one more soundtrack sample because again, I do absolutely love the music in this game. I'll come back, show you how it ends, talk a little bit more about the history of Konami and the 3DO M2, and how Eddie Murphy in a cop uniform ties into this game. But one more sound segment, enjoy it. I mean, I just absolutely love that track, and how do you deny that is not perfect music for what seems to be a Scarface Miami Vice shootout on an oil rig. And that's the great thing about Total Vice, it just constantly has something new to see and do. Between references to stuff like Miami Vice, Scarface, the Death Wish series, Die Hard, all of those classic movies, including some of your absolute favorites, and that's married together with a light gun game from Konami on the 3DO M2 hardware, and this is just the recipe for me loving it. Every single ingredient that goes into the stock pot that is this game just brings out such a wonderful gaming flavor, and that's the best cooking euphemism I can come up with to talk about an arcade game. And again, this thing is just legendarily rare. It is not something that you're going to see very often at all. The one time this thing seemed to get photographed outside of an arcade was in an Eddie Murphy Robert De Niro movie, Showtime, from 2002, where Eddie Murphy's actually playing Total Vice in the movie. Otherwise, this thing got distribution in Japan, in North America, and in Europe, and I do not know a single arcade anywhere in the world in which a Total Vice cabinet still exists. So again, if you know where there is one, do leave me that comment down below. And of course, it wouldn't be a warm climate shootout with a bad guy if he wasn't wearing a classic white suit, just like Tony Montana did. Obviously, Tony Montana, though, didn't have an unlimited rocket launcher, although he did have some weapons that did have some rockets on them, don't forget. But again, Total Vice to me is just a special game. I hunted this thing for years, and the first one I got, I didn't even know was coming. Like I said, I picked it up from an arcade collector in Australia, but I actually purchased an Evil Knight board from him, and he knew I was looking for Total Vice. He had a spare one. He just put it in a box and mailed it to me to my address in Chicago for free. That is how close some people can become in the arcade community. And I used to mail him motorcycle parts to Australia so you could avoid tariffs on those. Haven't heard from the guy in a few years, but I hope he is okay out there. But again, these are just games that I've loved. They're not the games that you think of when you think of best arcade games of all time, and that's what I love about them. I love a janky 3D arcade game, something that wasn't made by Sega, and as the boss falls into the electricity and absolutely dies, we can roll the credits on this game, which are hilarious in their own right, because it is after all a 90s video game, and that means that none of the bosses that you have shot and killed throughout this entire game are actually dead. You apprehended them all and brought them in for booking, including Funk, who fell from a helicopter all the way down to the street. They must have gotten an airbag underneath him there. But again, this Total Vice game is just 100% for me, and I really do feel bad that it's not more common because I want everyone to be able to play this. The good thing is you can totally load up MAME and check it out today. The sound is a little bit weird, but it'll get close to running at full speed, so you can experience what this game was, but honestly losing those frames kind of takes away the overall charm of what Total Vice truly is. But again, I love the 3DO M2, I love Konami arcade games, I love 90s 3D, and I love stuff that runs on weird hardware, and that is why Total Vice is 100% for me. And I will say Funk there in his brilliant sunglasses, absolute classic image. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below, and you'll see there that the crime lord was Funk, so I don't know why the levels are out of order. But we are done, and I'll probably never talk about Total Vice again on the channel. See you guys next time. Bye-bye.